Why do the honest suffer while the cunning rise? Why do the knave fall into traps with the powerful set with a smile? In a world ruled not by fairness but by manipulation, goodness alone becomes a weakness. But what if you could see through deceit and use it to your advantage? Today, we unmask the world through Machiavelli's eyes and learn 8 ruthless lessons that make you dangerously smart. Human nature is predictable. Human nature, to the wise, is not a mystery but a map. Machiavelli observed that men change their clothes, their words, their religions, and even their loyalties, yet beneath these layers, the same animal heart beats endlessly, craving power, safety, admiration, and pleasure. To be dangerously smart is to study this creature, not through idealism but through dissection. Every man, no matter how noble he appears, is a creature of need. Every decision he makes is born from fear or hunger. Once you know which one drives him, you can control him as easily as a falconer commands his bird. Machiavelli wrote that men are motivated by 2 great forces, the desire to gain and the fear to lose. It is this duality that governs kingdoms and friendships alike. The merchant seeks profit, the priest seeks reverence, the lover seeks validation, and the ruler seeks obedience. Strip away their titles and robes, and all you find is the same trembling will, a hunger to be secure and superior. The dangerously smart do not condemn this nature. They exploit it. They do not expect people to act with consistency or fairness, for that would be expecting wolves to graze like sheep. Instead, they observe, anticipate, and calculate every move through the lens of human weakness. In every conversation lies a confession waiting to be heard. People reveal themselves constantly, not through their declarations, but through their reactions. The way they defend themselves, the way their tone shifts when challenged, the flicker in their eyes when power enters the room. These are the scriptures of human nature. Machiavelli would say that a wise man must watch not only what is said, but what is not said, for silence often screams the loudest truths. Words may be a mask, but fear always exposes the face beneath. The dangerously smart learn to listen with their eyes. In politics and in life, men pretend to be guided by morals, but what truly commands them are consequences. Even the most righteous soul can be turned if the reward is glittering enough or the punishment unbearable. Loyalty, therefore, is a convenient illusion, temporary, conditional, and easily bought. Machiavelli saw loyalty not as virtue but as leverage. It exists only while interests align. When they do not, betrayal is not evil. It is simply nature fulfilling itself. The dangerously smart accept this without emotion, for to understand human nature is to accept the inevitability of self-interest. The predictable man trusts promises, the wise man trusts patterns. Promises are spoken by lips that lie to themselves, but patterns are written in behavior, repeated until undeniable. A man who flatters you once will flatter others tomorrow. A man who envies you quietly today will strike when he senses your guard is low. A man who fears you now will serve you loyally until the moment he believes he can defeat you. Such truths are cruel, but they are consistent. To Machiavelli, there is no virtue in denying the cruelty of human nature. There is only blindness in ignoring it. Consider a ruler surrounded by smiling advisors. Each bows, each praises, each swears eternal devotion. But Machiavelli would warn, those who smile the most are often sharpening their knives. The ruler who survives is the one who understands the difference between love and utility. Love is fleeting, built on emotion, easily destroyed by envy. But utility is stable, built on interest, maintained by mutual gain. When people depend on you for their ambition, their loyalty is no longer emotional, it is strategic. And that is the only loyalty worth having. The dangerously smart learn to bind people not with affection, but with necessity. The masses are predictable in another way. They are drawn to appearance more than substance. They would rather follow a confident liar than a hesitant truth-teller. They are enchanted by symbols, crowns, and speeches, not by truth or competence. Machiavelli understood that to rule men, one must master illusion as much as reality. To manipulate human nature, you must first understand its weakness for spectacle. Appear powerful, and men will obey before you even demand it. Appear certain, and they will believe your uncertainty is wisdom. Appear moral, and even your corruption will be forgiven. The dangerously smart do not aim to be understood. They aim to be perceived. Human nature's greatest flaw is its denial of itself. People claim they want freedom, yet they crave control. They preach honesty, yet they worship deception when it benefits them. They celebrate courage, yet tremble when risk demands it. The wise do not judge these contradictions, they use them. They know that every crowd seeks a shepherd, every friend seeks an advantage, every rival seeks an opening. To move among men is to walk through a maze of desires disguised as virtues. Machiavelli's mind saw through every disguise. He knew that if you learn to predict the desires of others, you can dictate their destiny without them ever realizing it. Even kindness, when observed through the lens of human nature, becomes a weapon. Give generously, and men will adore you, not for your virtue, but for the benefit they expect to receive again. Deny them once and their love turns to resentment. Thus, generosity is not a moral act but a strategic one, to be used only when it strengthens your control. The dangerously smart give not to please but to bind, and they withhold not from cruelty but from calculation. They understand that to be truly wise, one must appear kind while remaining unentangled by emotion. Machiavelli's world was one of deception, yet it was never chaotic to him. Because once you see through the surface, chaos turns to pattern. People behave differently, but they think the same. Their ambitions may change color, but the shape remains eternal. The ruler, the merchant, the friend, the rival, all are moved by the same invisible strings. The difference between being manipulated and being in control is knowing where those strings are attached. The dangerously smart do not seek to change human nature. They seek to command it, for that is the only mastery worth pursuing. Appear virtuous, but never be controlled by virtue. Machiavelli understood a truth so unsettling that even centuries later, most men refuse to face it. That goodness in its purest form has no power without deception. The world worships virtue in public yet rewards cunning in private. The one who survives, the one who ascends, is not the man who is truly virtuous, but the one who appears to be. To be dangerously smart, one must wear morality like armor on the outside, while keeping the cold steel of reason hidden beneath. It is not hypocrisy, it is strategy. For in the eyes of society, perception is virtue, and image is morality. What they see is what they believe, and belief, not truth, shapes destinies. The fool acts from virtue because he thinks goodness will protect him. The wise act from calculation because he knows that virtue is fragile, easily crushed by envy, greed, or fear. Machiavelli observed that a prince who insists on being entirely good is doomed among men who are not. The world is a theater of masks, and those who walk upon its stage without one are devoured. Appear merciful, but keep your hand steady when punishment is needed. Appear honest, but never reveal everything. Appear humble, but never forget your throne. In this art of appearance lies the key to survival. Those who control how they are perceived control how the world reacts to them. Virtue without strategy is weakness. Morality without timing is suicide. The dangerously smart understand that men admire goodness only when it does not threaten their interests. Show them a man who forgives too easily, and they will call him foolish. Show them a man who hesitates to strike when necessary, and they will call him weak. But show them a man who conceals his ruthlessness beneath grace, and they will call him noble. This is the paradox of virtue. The world rewards not sincerity but presentation. The wise learn to act, not to feel. They master expression as kings master warfare. In politics, business, and love, the illusion of morality is a weapon sharper than any blade. Machiavelli did not despise virtue, he despised its misuse. He saw that goodness without power is mocked, while deception with purpose is revered. Those who cling blindly to ideals become slaves to them. They cannot adapt because they fear appearing false. But the truly intelligent are unshackled by this fear. They can smile and flatter those they despise, forgive those they intend to destroy, and speak kindly of justice while orchestrating manipulation in silence. Such control is not evil. It is the purest form of awareness. To rule men, one must understand their moral expectations, play to them, and subtly bend them toward one's own ends. A prince, Machiavelli said, must learn not to be good when goodness endangers his power. For power, once lost, cannot be recovered through virtue. The people may cheer the kind, but they obey the fear. Yet even fear must be wrapped in fairness. To be loved is a luxury. To be feared without hatred is mastery. The dangerously smart strike this delicate balance. They do not display cruelty openly, but they make examples quietly. They punish without anger, reward without affection, and rule without apology. Their virtue exists in form, not feeling. They understand that men will forgive deceit before they forgive weakness. The appearance of control, therefore, is the truest form of moral authority. In every age, humanity remains enthralled by the spectacle of purity. Saints, heroes, and martyrs are praised, but only after they are gone. While alive, the virtuous are often betrayed by those they trusted most. Machiavelli's lesson is clear: never expect the world to honor goodness that does not serve its interests. If you must act with kindness, let it be deliberate. Let it serve a function. Charity, when used wisely, buys loyalty. Mercy, when used selectively, creates dependence. Honesty, when timed correctly, wins credibility. The dangerously smart understand that every moral act must be an investment, not a confession. Perception governs obedience. Men do not seek truth. They seek comfort in believing what pleases them. The ruler who appears moral gains devotion without effort. His followers will excuse his sins because they need to believe in his image. The same applies to every leader, lover, and influencer. The crowd worships appearance, not substance. Therefore, the truly wise craft their image with the precision of an artist and the discipline of a general. They speak of integrity, act with confidence, and let the world assume their goodness. The illusion becomes self-sustaining. Once a man is perceived as virtuous, his motives are never questioned. His lies are interpreted as wisdom. But to appear virtuous without being trapped by virtue requires discipline. You must know when to silence empathy and when to conceal malice. You must learn to act against your emotions, for emotions are the strings that puppeteers pull to control you. The dangerously smart maintain a serene exterior even when rage burns beneath. They forgive in words, not in spirit. They promise in public, but plan in private. Their morality is flexible, a mask they change depending on the light. To others they appear predictable, trustworthy, almost saint-like. But beneath the performance lies calculation, cold, clear, and patient. Machiavelli understood that morality is not a law of the divine but a language of men, and language can be learned, mimicked, and manipulated. To appear virtuous is to speak fluently in the dialect of trust. It opens doors that force never could. It earns loyalty from those who would resist a tyrant but serve a savior. Thus, the art of appearing virtuous is not merely survival. It is persuasion at its highest form. The wise play both sides of the coin, allowing others to see what they wish to see, while secretly ensuring that every choice serves a greater design. The crowd applauds their decency, their allies admire their restraint, and their enemies underestimate their intent. This is not deceit born of evil but wisdom born of necessity. For in a world where virtue can be faked, those who understand its illusion command those who still believe in its purity. Power belongs to the strategic, not the strong strength. In the eyes of the masses has always been celebrated muscles, armies, wealth, titles. But Machiavelli saw through this illusion. He knew that true power does not belong to those who strike hardest, but to those who strike wisely. The sword may win a battle, but the mind wins a kingdom. It is not the lion who rules forever, it is the fox who survives the lion. To be dangerously smart, one must understand that power is not seized through force alone but through the mastery of timing, perception, and manipulation. Strategy, not strength, bends the world to your will. Machiavelli observed that history is filled with strong men who fell to weaker ones, simply because they failed to think beyond the present. The strong react, the strategic anticipate. The strong fight visible enemies, the strategic disarm invisible threats before they arise. The strong rely on their ability to dominate, the strategic rely on their ability to influence. And influence, though invisible, is more enduring than any wall of stone. The wise know that true power lies not in physical control, but in psychological control, the ability to make others act willingly in your favor, even when it harms their own interests. Strategy begins with understanding the battlefield, not the one of swords, but the one of minds. Every human interaction is a contest of influence. Every room you enter has a hierarchy, whether spoken or silent. The dangerously smart read that hierarchy instantly. They know who hungers for validation, who fears rejection, who hides insecurity behind arrogance. To the untrained eye, these are random behaviors. To the Machiavellian mind, they are patterns, exploitable openings. Once you see the desires and fears that guide people, you no longer need to force them. You simply lead them where they already wish to go. Machiavelli taught that one must never rely on brute power, because power gained through fear alone decays. The people obey the tyrant out of terror, but the moment his grip weakens, they revolt. Yet when obedience is earned through strategic illusion, when the people believe you act in their favor, they chain themselves willingly. This is the art of soft control. The ruler, the leader, or even the ordinary man who masters this art becomes untouchable. His enemies cannot openly oppose him because they appear ungrateful for his perceived kindness. His allies cannot abandon him without appearing disloyal. The dangerously smart create webs of obligation so subtle that their influence remains even when their power seems gone. The strong reveal their power too soon. They announce their victories, intimidate their rivals, and bask in the illusion of dominance. The strategy hides their power until its revelation is inevitable. They allow others to feel safe, even superior, until the trap is closed. Machiavelli admired those who could endure being underestimated, for underestimation is the shield of the wise. When your strength is unseen, your enemies cannot unite against it. When your strategy is invisible, your success appears as fate. To be dangerously smart is to be patient enough to seem harmless while building an empire brick by silent brick. The foundation of strategy is foresight, the ability to think not as the world is, but as it will be. The strong man acts on impulse, but the strategist moves in layers. He knows that every decision creates ripples that will either destroy or sustain him. He calculates his words, his silences, his alliances. He plants seeds in the minds of others, seeds that will bloom months or years later into outcomes he designed. While others scramble to react, he watches the game unfold as he planned it long before. This foresight is not supernatural, it is born from observation, discipline, and emotional detachment. For emotion is the enemy of strategy, and the dangerously smart never fight wars with their hearts. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, but only if you know how to manage fear. Uncontrolled fear breeds rebellion, measured fear breeds obedience. The strategic man knows how to balance both, to strike terror in those who threaten him, while inspiring loyalty in those who serve him. He does not waste energy conquering every enemy. He isolates one, destroys it publicly, and lets the others discipline themselves through the echo of that example. He wins through efficiency, not excess. The strong man fights to exhaust, the strategist fights to conclude. The game of strategy extends far beyond politics or warfare. It seeps into love, friendship, and daily ambition. The person who wins arguments, negotiations, and influence does so not through shouting, but through subtle framing. He allows others to believe they are choosing freely, while he is the one scripting their choices. This illusion of autonomy is the ultimate weapon of the intelligent. People resist control, but they follow persuasion. They despise tyranny, yet they adore guidance. Thus, the Machiavellian mind never commands, it directs, nudging others toward conclusions that seem their own. Patience, deception, and adaptability are the trinity of the strategist. Patience allows him to wait for the perfect moment. Deception shields his intentions. Adaptability ensures that no failure can destroy him. The strong crumble when their plan breaks, the strategic bend and reform into a new plan. They understand that chaos itself is a resource. While others panic in disorder, the dangerously smart use disorder as camouflage. They rise when others retreat, gaining ground amid confusion. Power to them is not stability but movement, the constant dance between force and finesse. Machiavelli admired rulers who could act with cruelty when necessity demanded it, but who also knew when restraint was wiser than vengeance. For every act of domination, no matter how justified, plants a seed of hatred, but every act of controlled restraint plants a seed of awe. The strategic understand this balance. They destroy only when it strengthens their position, never to soothe their pride. They understand that reputation is a fortress built not on truth, but on consistent perception. To be dangerously smart is to cultivate this perception carefully, appearing decisive but not reckless, compassionate but not weak, powerful but not oppressive. The strong chase victory, the strategic shape inevitability. The strong rule through noise, the strategic through silence. The strong are remembered for their rise, the strategic for their endurance. In the eyes of Machiavelli, strength is temporary, but strategy is immortal. For strategy does not depend on muscle or wealth, only on the mastery of the human mind. Adaptation is the ultimate intelligence, in the shifting theater of power, where fortune turns faster than loyalty. Machiavelli declared adaptability to be the highest form of intelligence. The man who clings to one identity, one method, or one ideal soon becomes a relic in a world that rewards transformation. To be dangerously smart is to be fluid, capable of wearing any mask, adopting any tone, and blending into any circumstance without ever losing one's core intention. Adaptation is not weakness, it is mastery disguised as surrender. It is the art of surviving storms by bending while others break, of transforming failure into camouflage and disguise into advantage. Machiavelli studied rulers and generals who rose like suns and fell like stars, and he discovered one truth that bound them all: rigidity is death. Those who ruled with pride in their unchanging virtue were destroyed by those who learned to evolve with time. Fortune, he said, is like a river. It floods, it recedes, it shifts its course, and only those who can build their walls according to its moods can contain its power. The inflexible man prays for calm waters. The adaptable man learns to swim through storms. The dangerously smart embrace changes not as a threat but as an instrument. Adaptation begins with the abandonment of identity as a cage. Most men define themselves by titles, beliefs, and routines, mistaking comfort for strength. They hold on to habits because they fear uncertainty. But the Machiavellian mind knows that identity must be worn like a costume, to be changed when the scene demands it. The ruler who can play the humble servant, the servant who can play the loyal friend, and the friend who can play the strategist will always outlive the one who insists on being only one thing. The wise can kneel without losing pride, flatter without losing control, and retreat without losing power. Every form becomes a mask through which survival continues. Adaptability requires emotional control, the ability to silence pride when humility brings advantage, and to suppress fear when aggression is necessary. Machiavelli observed that those who cannot command their emotions are commanded by circumstance. The dangerously smart are not emotionless, they are engineers of their emotion. They can summon charm to disarm suspicion, patience to outlast chaos, and cruelty when mercy would invite weakness. Every situation demands a different face, and the wise wear it willingly. To the world, this seems inconsistent, but to those who understand power, it is consistency of purpose under different disguises. There is genius in the ability to transform failure into a new beginning. When plans collapse, the unwise cling to what was lost, but the adaptable man studies the ruins for opportunity. Machiavelli taught that fortune favors those who act decisively in the face of change, not those who wait for stability. He compared fate to a woman who submits to the bold, the one who dares to adjust, to improvise, to seize momentum while others hesitate. To be dangerously smart, one must never fight the storm directly, but learn to turn its winds to one's favor. Adaptation is not mere survival, it is the quiet art of transformation through awareness. The adaptable man observes patterns but never becomes one. He watches how others react, how fear spreads, how desire blinds, and then positions himself where neither emotion can reach him. In the chaos of politics or personal rivalry, when men rush to declare loyalty or betrayal, the Machiavellian mind remains still, waiting, watching, calculating. When the dust settles, he chooses the winning side, appearing as if he had always belonged to it. Such mastery is not opportunism, it is evolution. It is the intelligence of one who refuses to die for symbols when he can live through reinvention. Adaptation also means knowing when to discard virtue and when to wear it again. The world changes faster than morality, and the one who treats ethics as eternal law rather than flexible code becomes a prisoner of his own purity. Machiavelli taught that virtue must serve necessity, not the other way around. The adaptable mind understands that what is condemned today may be praised tomorrow. Thus, he does not anchor himself to reputation. He anchors himself to relevance. He does not ask whether an act is good, but whether it sustains his control. This fluid morality frightens the weak, but it empowers the strong, for it allows movement where others freeze in indecision. Adaptability is also the art of silence, the wisdom to conceal transformation until it is complete. The wise do not announce their evolution. They emerge renewed, leaving their enemies still fighting the ghost of who they once were. The dangerously smart shed their old selves quietly, letting those who misjudge them become victims of outdated assumptions. The world attacks what it recognizes. It cannot destroy what it no longer understands. To remain unpredictable is to remain untouchable. In Machiavelli's view, fortune is not a god to be worshipped, but a storm to be studied. She changes direction without mercy, and only those who move with her rhythm thrive. The adaptable man studies her patterns, prepares his ship to shift with her winds, and never curses her cruelty. He understands that power lies not in controlling the storm, but in sailing it. The unwise man demands permanence. The wise builds strategies that thrive in impermanence. The dangerously smart never mourn the past nor fear the future. They shape themselves according to it, becoming many faces within one soul. Adaptation is not the abandonment of principle, but the transformation of it into a living force. Principles must guide, not chain. The wise hold to purpose, not to method. If persuasion fails, they use silence. If force fails, they use patience. If loyalty fails, they use deception. Every failure is merely a signal to shift form, to change language, to evolve approach. The adaptable mind survives every era because it belongs to none. It is both fox and lion, flame and smoke, shadow and light, whatever the moment demands. This fluidity is not moral confusion, but supreme intelligence, the ability to move with the flow of power while directing it invisibly beneath the surface.